Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode number 8 of 1 Degree of Scandalous with Kato Kalin.
8. Good luck, Chinese number.
And I'm Tom Zenner. Thank you so much. New look for us this week. I love the blue. Looks even more prominent with you, Kato, blending in beautifully.
Well, I don't want to brag, but I am a model.
And no headphones, Kato. That beautiful hair of yours is
you mentioned hair. I knew that was coming up. And believe it or not, after the show, I'm taking a trip. After the show, I got to take a trip, so I always get a little haircut, a little trim.
Do you, right before you head out?
Yeah.
Got to get it looking good. So welcome. We have a great guest who's in studio with us today who we're going to talk about in just a second. It's the first time. We welcomed him here. It's going to be a lot of fun. But here, let's get one thing cleared up here real quickly. So, Kato, why did you never tell me about the magazine cover that you were on in 1996?
Oh, Vanity Fair.
There was another one.
Sports Illustrated.
A third. Well, actually, there's probably a few you were on. But, I mean, belated congratulations, sir. The cover of Playgirl.
Oh, my God. You know,
Kato Kalin, 1996.
You subscribe to Playgirl?
Absolutely.
And for the record, really quickly on that you said that, I haven't seen it forever. I'm not nude in the magazine at all. They didn't, because if I was, it would have to be a May through August issue. I'm kidding. Folks, I'm kidding. I'm very small. I don't want to brag. Matter of fact, I'm not bragging. I'm making fun of myself. Nothing like that. I did a pictorial. But the funny thing that I remember about the people were so nice to me at Playgirl. And they said, and I was joking around with them. They said, why don't we I was single, so why don't we find Kato a date? And it was this big push of finding Kato a date.
Like you needed the help.
No. So they had the fans that wrote these letters, and I actually, we picked someone, they did, we had a date, and it was, it was fine.
Okay, he was on the cover of it, ladies and gentlemen, top of the interview. Yeah. No pictorial inside, but I mean, you got to admit.
I had pictorials.
Okay, but the abs were looking good.
Yeah,
How much time did you have to get ready for that? Where you're hitting the gym, really watching your diet or doing whatever you have to?
No, because I ran so much. I used to run and run. I was like, oh, come on over. I have my own makeup. I'm kidding. So, but it was funny. Like I said, it was, the people were more than kind. It wasn't, it's sort of like, it's the Playboy of, the male, the Playboy,
yeah, of course.
The Playgirl.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's around anymore, but back then it was a big deal in the mid-'90s.
And it has a huge gay following. I found out that most of the letters were from dudes.
Huh. Was it an immediate yes when they asked you? Yeah, I'll do that. Or did they have to talk you into it?
Well, I said, no, I'm not going to go nude. I said, but yeah, let's have fun with it. So we did it, had fun with it, had the situations filled up to do. But can I brag about something? My favorite photo shoot was GQ. Gentleman's Quarterly, because that made it, and they said, pick your favorite movies that you've ever been in, and we'll dress you up at those films.
So did they dress you up like some of the lead characters in those movies, or what?
Okay, I was there.
So give me a couple. What'd you pick?
Well, I did. I went with older films. I did Bonnie and Clyde. I was not Bonnie. I was Clyde. So they had the model with Bonnie and Clyde. I did. I was kind of a Beatle guy. So I did The Hard Day's Night. We had the phone where I'm here and surrounded by girls. I did. Goldfinger, and they painted up a model all in gold. You remember the scene?
Yes.
That's why earlier did my
What
Sean
a clever
Connery.
idea.
Yes,
I mean, you had to be all over that. And that's when magazines were in their heyday, too. A magazine like GQ was millions and millions of subscribers back then. Yeah?
And, of course, the Green Hornet for a TV show. They had to go with Kato the Green Hornet, so he did that.
All right. Okay,
great fun. Let's talk more about Kato.
Okay, but by the way,
kidding, folks. Hey, by the way, no more Kato.
Okay, no more Kato. But hey, by the way, make sure you go to the YouTube version of this so you can see the Playgirl cover because we're going to put it on there. I mean, we got to show it.
Show it, baby.
All right. So hey, download and subscribe if you haven't, and make sure you go to our YouTube channel. We say it every week, but especially this week because we have an in-studio guest, so it's going to look great, and it's going to be a lot of fun talking about the heyday of Hollywood. Back in the day, and some of the stuff that used to go on in this town. I'm
telling you, actually, 90s were. I was famous in the 90s, but the 90s were just kick butt. Everything was happening from Leonardo DiCaprio with the Tobey Maguire friendships. I used to see these guys at the Playboy Mansion a lot. And that's when I think the heyday was.
It was
for the mansion of like.
It was a different vibe here. It was just fun. It was more relaxed.
Everything
it was loose.
Was fun.
Nobody's looking over their shoulder, worrying about what they're saying, the whole thing. And I don't know if we'll ever get back to it, but we could sure talk about it.
The word woke was not even around.
Yeah.
Trust me, everything's changed. Yeah. But I put on my Twitter. I did a Trivial Pursuit ad, and I said, I really miss the '90s, and it's just me with a thing from.
I think a lot of people do. I mean, they didn't have the distractions with social media. I mean, the internet was just being invented. It was just a different time. There was peace. Wasn't crazy mass
Everything
shootings
was
going on all the time. But anyway, it is fun to talk about, and that's what we're going to do today. With one of your old running mates from back in the 90s, I think, too, right? An old friend of yours?
Yes, definitely. I have a friend still today. I haven't seen him forever. We're going to find out more stories of what's going on.
Well, take a look over to your left. Here he is, Kevin Josephson. If you're going to recognize the voice, he's been on so many TV shows. He's got such a great voice and the look and the hair. Ran one of the most famous salons, the Kevin Josephson Studio in Beverly Hills. That thing was on fire. So many big-name stars and celebrities were rolling through there. And, of course, the personal barber, Kevin Hefner. Welcome, Kevin. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. 1 degree of scandalous, so I know already Kevin's doing used to cut Hef's hair, and you must know scandal, so nothing will go. We're going to go for you there.
Yes.
What you can't talk about, I understand that, but we're going to try to get you to talk about that.
Yes.
Did you have some celebrity dates? Did you have anybody that A-list actors or B-list actors that you?
Well, yeah,
the
first one when I first moved here, I met on a photo shoot was Linda Blair, and she's the girl from The Exorcist. Yeah. And so we've been on a photo shoot, became fast friends. We dated for like 9 months.
Did she throw up on you? No,
yeah, kind of.
You could never get away. Could never get away with anything because her head just spun around.
Yeah, it's like,
always watching.
hey, you don't turn your back on me. I did. That was my head.
She was an absolute sweetheart. She was so fun to hang out with, and every Halloween she's just so famous. She went on the Howard Stern show, talked about me. That was kind of very cool for me because I loved Howard Stern, and the fact that she talked about me on that was like, oh my god.
Think about it. Right?
So that was you actually dated?
You were
9 months.
Okay. Yeah, for about 9 months.
9 months.
Well, back then, and you worked with so many major celebrities, which we're going to get to, and we're going to talk about the stories, we're going to talk about the scandals, we're going to talk about the Playboy Mansion. But man, the power that a talented hairstylist has, because it's such a big deal. If you're a colorist, the whole thing, I mean, this is their life. Yeah. And I would imagine you could become very, very close with them in a short period of time, and they need you and they love you and they can't live without you. Well, did you feel that power?
Yeah. Yes. Well, one of my favorite stories was there was a famous real estate agent in town, Paul Zacco, who was trying to find a house for Janice Dickinson. And Janice Dickinson, he put her on the phone with me, and her hair was all messed up, and she needed her color fixed. So I got her in right away, got her fixed, and that just became an amazing friendship relationship that was just so profitable and just wonderful for my career.
Yeah.
She hooked me up big time.
Yeah, I mean they must be calling you in the middle of the night. I mean, were you at their beck and call, some of these big names, if they needed something, or would they bring you onto the set and do whatever they had to?
It was the set, but more to their houses. Yeah. Janice introduced me to a woman named Christine Peters, who was the ex-wife of John Peters, the famous John Peters, Goober Peters. And
he was also married to Barbra Streisand, so.
Yeah, he did Barbara's hair. And his son, incidentally, went on the Howard Stern show and said that the movie Shampoo was about John. And I'm like, that is such bullshit. It's so not true. Yeah. Just, Google it. You don't need my opinion. But that being said, Christine was one of these people that... on a Sunday, she called me up first thing in the morning, and I'm in bed with whoever, and she wants me to roll over there on a Sunday morning. I'm like, I cannot, I will not. Enough.
Put a big enough number. Would you go do it?
Not at that point.
Okay.
Not at that point. But the number was already big. It just got to the point where and for a while when Hef was dating Sandy, Mandy, and Brandy Broderick, remember those that crew? There was a lot. I was doing their hair as well for a minute.
And they have a lot of hair.
And it was just a lot. They were always going out, so I was constantly dealing.
Dang,
it just got to the point where I just couldn't anymore.
Always at the mansion?
It just cut into my personal life too much, and I just had to stop.
Well, how often did Hef get his hair cut?
About every month, every 6 weeks, and I'll roll up the Playboy Mansion and do it. And one of my favorite things was when they were doing The Girls Next Door, and they actually got me into the show. They sat down, they interviewed me, they had me and Hef together. I was cutting his hair. We joked around about a few things. It was brilliant. Such a great time.
When The Girls Next Door was airing and you're cutting their hair and you cut Sandy, Mandy, and Brandy's hair, do they see you kind of a lot of people are very close to their hairdresser, like you're the psychiatrist. I mean, everybody tells you their problems, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
how you can solve them.
I'm very fortunate that I actually went to school and learned counseling. I went to theological school, and so I learned counseling. And the best thing to do is just shut up and listen. That's why you have 2 ears and one mouth.
And then they keep talking,
and they
right?
just keep talking. And what I would always encourage people to do is to believe in themselves, to not let their fears get the better of them. And the benefit of my career that's so rewarding was helping people really feel better about themselves.
So saying that you're cutting Hef's hair, do you ever confide in Hef, like, Hef, you're being used? Did you? How close did you become that? What could you say to him without losing your job?
He never, ever, in all the, we spent 16, 17 years together doing his hair. He never, ever displayed any weakness or need for counseling. It was more a situation where we would laugh about different things and different stories and that kind of thing. He told me the story of how he met Kendra. And she was a Jello shot girl up at the Playboy Mansion, and he saw her, was just enamored. And then she goes back to San Diego State, and he calls her up on the phone. She doesn't even believe it's him. And he asked her if she would spend the summer with him at the Playboy Mansion. And so Kendra's like, who? And he had to convince her that it was Hef. And then she had to, she called her mom, was like, Mom, is it okay? And her mom was like, hell yeah, go up there. So that's how that whole thing started. So Hef would tell me story. He was so romantic, absolute
they had sex.
In love. Absolutely in love with Hollywood. Yeah. He saved the Hollywood sign twice because the land was at risk. He was all about Hollywood. He didn't have too many male friends. Because he couldn't trust them because they're always trying to take his chicks.
Well, they always want something from him, right? Either an invite or something.
That's what
how do you begin to charge Hef? What's your rate for a guy?
So it was funny how we met. We met through his doctor, Dr. Saganor, which was actually Janice. Remember Albert Kirsten, who owned the Gate?
And Mark Saganor, also a poker player.
Yes. And so we were at the Gate one night, and Janice looks over at Mark. He got the whole flap over thing going, and Janice is like, Mark, your hair looks like shit. You got to have Kevin fix it. And so I did. And then ever since then, we became fast friends, and that's when I started going to all the Playboy Mansion parties. And so then when Hef passed away, Mark, his best friend, said, I got the guy for you. And that's how I got the gig. That's exactly
okay, so how about the first time you cut his hair? Was he
happy? So the first time I roll in,
you're nervous.
I go up there. No, not at all. No. I just know that because I've seen him before. I've seen him for a few years now. I've seen him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so I kind of know what I want to do if I ever get the chance. He was losing his hair. So my magic was to take those few hairs and make it look like more hair.
Right.
And that's what I'm really good at.
Well, you're a lifesaver if you could do that for a guy,
I did
right?
that.
Yeah.
And so I get done. He would get up. He went to the bathroom that's in the library. The library where all the books and everything. There's a little bathroom over there. A really cool toilet.
A lot of reading going on over there.
Yeah, lots of reading.
A lot of literature.
So, it was brilliant because he goes in. He loves his haircut. And he says, okay, how much do I owe you? So I said, okay, well, this was 2001. So I said, well, my house calls are $150, but I want to be on the list for all the parties up here. He said, done. That's literally how it went down.
After the first haircut. So he liked it. He clearly liked it. All right, cool.
He liked me, which was the most important part.
Yeah.
And I was vouched by Mark.
Yeah.
So that was just brilliant.
So how many people do you think had that permanent invite? Because that was a tough ticket. Obviously,
Celebrity
people want to go
mainly,
to those parties.
his close friends, there weren't too many. At the beginning, I had drive-up capabilities, which was brilliant. But then the neighbors were, complaining about the parking and what have you. So then they moved everybody over to the UCLA lot and would drive people in from there. So I got to the point to where I would have a driver drive my car, drop me off at UCLA, then have them wait at the back gate. So whoever I was hanging with, whatever girls I met and what have you, and have my driver wait in the back so we could go to the after parties after the Playboy Mansion parties. Yeah.
Okay, so you opened the salon in 2006. When did you start cutting Hef's hair? What year was that?
2001.
Okay, so then things started really exploding.
Mm-hmm.
Man, how do you keep your ego in check? Because you are a star when you're a celebrity hairstylist. I mean, there's so much praise, there's so much love, there's so much money probably as well. I would imagine a lot of people get swept up in that and kind of lose their career. But was that ever a problem for you? Did you ever believe the hype?
I was about service. I was about walking in the shop every day and being booked for 12 hours, making the money, business, and being someone who can really help people with their problems, most of their relationships. So many women I would meet, and then they would bring their boyfriends in, then their fiancés, and then their husbands. I knew them longer than their husbands.
Right.
So it was really a wonderful just interaction that way.
So when you opened your salon, you met so many people, did you finance it yourself, or you met so many people, did they put the money up?
So I did it myself.
That's a high rent area.
Yeah. Actually, what happened was when I left Giuseppe Franco, I went and worked with Frederick Fekkai. He and I shared some clients, and he was opening up on Rodeo. Chanel owned him. He had 4 floors in the Chanel building on West 57th, and so Chanel wanted to open on Rodeo, so they did. So when I got that gig, it was a great gig to get, but a horrible gig to have. So after a year, I got out. Then I went to a salon called Lush. Then Jonathan Anton called me up. He was doing a reality show on Bravo called Blowout. It was an awesome hair reality show. So I went over there and did that. So once that show was over, I went back to Lush. I bought the business, and then I renovated it. And I'd use my own money. I bought a house. I made a lot of equity in it, and I just used that, invested in myself.
So when you were on Blowout, obviously that just got you more and more customers.
Oh, yeah.
It just...
I was very committed to, and you can relate to this, when you're going to make a move, it's either got to be a vertical move, a horizontal move or a vertical move. Mm-hmm. I'm not making a move back. So leaving Giuseppe's and going to Fakai was a vertical move. And then getting back on my own, I just got my clientele back together and started making really good money again. And then doing Blowout was another vertical move. Just more recognition, better opportunity. And that's what it is. You know, you can be an artist, but you also have to be a businessman.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to list some of the names. So obviously, Playboy, Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, well, Charlie Sheen, he was a client of Giuseppe's. And from time to time, if he couldn't do it, I would do it. But he and I became friends. And one time he was in the shop, and a friend of mine, Joey, who still works there, we went to cosmetology school in San Francisco together. And we're all hanging out with Charlie, and he's got his boy there, you know, and we're talking about stuff. And he talks about this 57 Corvette that he's got. And my friend Joey's like, oh, I love that car. And Charlie looks up and he goes, you do? And he goes, yeah. Charlie goes to his assistant and says, deliver that car to Joey tomorrow. He just gave it to him.
Wow, that's cool.
Charlie was one of the coolest people. So we started hanging. He was calling me up. Where are we going tonight? So one night it was him, Bill Maher, and what's his name? The guy from Breakfast Club.
Emilio Estevez, his brother.
No,
Judd Nelson.
Judd Nelson.
Yeah.
So it's us four going out, and then we end up back at Charlie's place. He has this insane condo all murdered out on Wilshire, and we're talking politics. And you cannot win an argument with Bill Maher in politics. You just cannot. Yeah. I mean, as soon as you prove a point, he's got this amazing ability to change the subject, talk about something else. I mean, he's really amazing. And he's smart as hell.
If only
he's
he
funny
could
as
build
hell,
a career
too.
off that.
Yeah, he was always at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah, well, Bill and I used to go to the mansion together constantly.
So
we're both single.
So you know what I'm talking about.
And I'm dear friends with Charlie forever. And the kindness that he is exactly with it.
He's so generous.
He never wants people to know that he give money to a police that had cancer. He wrote a $100,000 check.
Yeah.
And
never talk about
until someone else had to talk about it. But that's Charlie Sheen. That
I saw it firsthand. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I went to his house in Malibu once. That was just diabolical.
Oh yeah.
The guy was so fun.
I mean, you have to have this sort of trust relationship, almost like a lawyer or a doctor, where what you hear you can't tell. I mean, a lot of this stuff.
No, you have to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
word gets out fast if you have loose lips.
What kind of book could you write based on what you've learned and what
experiences?
You know?
I could write experiences. I could definitely mess with some people's lives if I had, if I was a little pissed off. But I'm not that kind of vengeful guy. I don't really have any relationships.
Well, you'd lose all
like
your friends
that.
if you did that. But I'm just curious. You must have a lot of knowledge and a lot of info that you're going to take with you to the grave.
I know a lot about a lot of people.
Well, how about that? How about the Janice Dickinson in 1982 said she was sexually assaulted at the mansion by Bill Cosby?
Yeah.
And you said you are friends with her.
Yes.
Now, she confided in you about that story ever, or is that just because that's kind of current what's going on in the news?
She did. But the only thing I would say about that was when it comes to partying and all that kind of stuff, everybody was partying. Everybody was, doing Quaaludes and all of it, So I think sometimes people look back on it and embellish a little bit. But as far as Janice's experience, she didn't spend a lot of time talking to me about it. But she's had the most amazing full life of all of that. And I have no doubt that Janice went through what she went through and was affected by it. Now, I think it's pretty obvious, what Bill did. I think it's been, pretty much proven. He went to jail for it, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So, I'm not judge and jury over here, but that to me is that's if you need that,
to especially as a celebrity.
Yeah,
I mean, my God.
It just makes no sense to me.
I think if you go to the mansion, I did many times. You can, I don't do drugs, but you can hang out with people that do. You can do that. You can set your own thing. And if I brought my date, I brought the date. But I had some of the best times of my entire life in the 90s. We were talking about pre-show of just, it was the heyday. It really was. It was the best parties. It was his Midsummer Nights. It was, like I said, Tobey Maguire, Leo DiCaprio, the Wilson brothers. Everybody was on their hit film. Ben Stiller. Everybody was there.
Jim Carrey, Ben Affleck, all those guys. The thing is you knew when you were at Midsummer's Night Dream, you were probably the best party in the world. and there was probably at least 5-to-1 women to men. You walk in, I just need 2 shots just to kind of relax. You know.
Did parties ever decline, or were they always like great?
Yeah, they did at the end for sure. Okay. They farmed out a lot of the details of the parties to these groups that were charging for areas to sit and all this kind of thing, and it kind of kind of made it a little
like
less
sponsorship and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, well, yeah, just table service and all that kind of thing. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I know for me when I went, girls were kind of on guard, and so I learned early on the best thing for me to do was to bring a girl with me. One of my hot model actress clients, I would bring them, and then if I saw somebody I liked, I would send her over. She was my bird dog, and she would talk to her. It literally made them see that I'm not a jackass, and I'm somebody they could trust and talk to, and that worked like a charm. And then my job was to find someone for her.
Yeah, I think part of the decline of there was you could see it. You did his hair for 17 years. You could see a decline happen. Like when Hef went from, like, no one reads magazines, but back then that was a big thing to do when he had girls of the Pac-12 or the girls of the Big Ten. But when they became like girls of the AARP, that's when you just kind of, it's like, you know,
the light went off and going, isn't quite the same
when Joan
anymore.
Collins is the you're like, hey,
when the
Hef,
Golden
come here, I gotta
Girls-
talk to you. Hef, come here. When you're
The
wearing
Arthur in the
clothes,
house.
when you're wearing Forever 81 clothes. Anyway, I'm just saying, Tom Zenner. It's just, you know, but it's I saw that too because it became, I think when he did Girls Next Door, it became too accessible because it was a thing that it was a private thing that you're part of this private thing.
Like a secret club,
Cato,
right?
you know, he
It's
needed these
exclusive.
things to start making
Sure.
a profit because it was a full expense for him, and Playboy wasn't generating enough money to cover it anymore. So he had to do something.
The
So
reality
at
shows
least
is what
he
you're
could
talking
be
about.
flat.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the parties. So there was
Okay.
Midsummer's Night Dream, there was his birthday, there was 4th of July, and then what was the other one?
4th of July.
Halloween.
Party.
Yeah. So there's 4 big parties
Yeah.
a year. His birthday,
Epic.
Halloween, Midsummer's Night Dream, and then 4th of July, which
Yeah.
is daytime. And he was the only guy who could have fireworks in Beverly Hills shooting over LA Country Club.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
When you're Hef, I guess you can have a few perks.
Well, see, that's the thing, too. You know, this documentary that just came out.
Yeah.
I really feel that this couldn't have happened until after he passed away because Hef was too powerful. People don't really realize. There were cameras all over the Playboy Mansion. Don't be disillusioned. There were. I'm convinced of it. And he didn't have people talking a whole lot of smack about him because if he did, he had leverage on them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after that, I think, that this was when it was available for this to come out and everything was, a little more.
When you mentioned that Kendra said, her mom said, yes, move in and all that.
Yes.
Do you think that gives them the okay? Just the okay to have sex? You think the parents are going, go ahead, have fun?
This is a town of runaways. Girls run away from home. They come to L.A. They try to make it. They go out on auditions all day long and they get told no, so they become very insecure. So girls are looking for the next opportunity. A lot of girls want to be, Hef's baby mama.
Rent free, living there, and
Whatever.
And what was his? If you can tell, what was his deal though? You have to have sex. You have to.
Well,
you have to sleep.
There's a rumor that Hef had sex with all of the centerfolds. I don't think that's true, but probably not far from the truth. I know for a fact one of my clients, she was set up to do a centerfold. No, she was already scheduled, ready to go.
I did too, though, but that was with one hand holding it.
Yeah, but that was Playgirl. So there was a night when she got a call from Playboy, and
Who's this now? This is
one of my clients. Yeah.
okay.
And she was asked to come to the Playboy Mansion. Hef wanted to see her, and she knew exactly what that was about, and she declined.
Oh.
And her centerfold got canceled.
Wow. Interesting. Cause and effect right there.
Yeah.
Do you think he was in love with all of
Yes.
them? Okay.
He was extraordinary romantic. He was all about it. He was all about romance. He loved the Hollywood romance. He just was all about it. It was just his childhood thing. It's just how he was. He talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about people that went to the parties? Because between the two of you, you've been to dozens. Do you have to sign anything? Is there an NDA? I mean, because you had to see some stuff there.
Not to go to the parties. I signed one with him doing his hair.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I everything I'm telling you is public knowledge. I'm not
Sure. Was it a
divulging any
scandal
secrets.
every time you rolled into into a party? Just the stuff that you'd see?
I wouldn't say scandalous. No, it was just the most fun party. People just partying their asses off on, like you said, on every level.
Yeah.
Drinking too much, drugs, all of it. But that's, that's the way people were at these big parties.
What do you think Hollywood's doing now when they don't have parties like that? Are they doing it privately? I mean,
Well,
or has it completely stopped? Is the fun taken out of it?
There are other people now that have these parties, similar parties.
Yeah,
I don't go to them anymore.
Everything's divisive now. With everybody's got a left and the right, and it's just and the woke and the. I don't think a party could happen. I mean, you think about it. There was nothing like that in the '90s or even before the woke started. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't like that, and the parties would be. Like I said, I don't even know who would have a party. Anymore, a party like that, only because there's the Me Too.
Someone could be offended. Something could happen for sure.
Yeah, I hear of parties going on, and they try to copy what happened, but
you can't do it.
No.
All right, so let's talk more about hair. You look at this list. You had some great hair. Rob Lowe, Peter Frampton, Def Leppard. Mm-hmm. The whole band come in there. 80s hair, 90s hair.
That's a great story. So my assistant, remember Barfly? Mario Oliver used to own an awesome bar on Sunset Plaza called Barfly. And my assistant and his girlfriend went early, and I knew the owners and the guys working the door. And so I showed up late, and they're hanging out with this gorgeous girl. And so I meet her, start talking to her, and we hit it off and kind of a little make-out session and what have you. But then she's, I got to go. Just all of a sudden, I'm like, I got to go. It happens. It's like, okay, bye. Next thing you know, you get a call from her. She goes, hey, I would like to know if you could cut my boyfriend's hair. I'm like, who's your boyfriend? Phil Collins. Not Collins, but Phil Collins, the guitar player from Def Leppard. I'm like, sure. So he comes in the shop, cut his hair, got the whole band. The reason I got the whole band was because their hairstylist was this woman who'd been cutting their hair from day one, and they're very superstitious about that.
Right.
So she got pregnant. She was on maternity leave for a year. So I did their hair for a year. It was incredible. So fun.
Someone actually cuts Def Leppard's pants too. Have you seen those jeans? There's holes everywhere. They start that. So, Kevin, can you cut my jeans?
Exactly.
Not just the hair.
Get my razor out. This might hurt a little.
He's responsible for those. He's responsible for those.
Hey, Kevin, did you ever have a bad day as a hairdresser? Knowing I kind of butchered that cut for this person or the color
or lawsuit.
The worst thing that ever happened to me, and it was the saddest thing, is this girl I've been doing it for, and she was a model, and I'd been doing her hair forever, and she wanted to go bleach blonde, and she did. But when these girls have very dark hair and they want to be white-haired clients, they want to have that platinum. When their hair is dark, there's a kind of a routine that you have to have them in, no less than every 3 weeks. So she waited a month, and the roots were just a little too long. But anyway, I did the base anyway, and it stayed on just probably 5 minutes too long, and my assistant went to go wash her hair out, and half her hair broke off. That was the worst day that I ever had in my life.
So it was time for some extensions after that.
Yeah.
Keep her along the salon.
And it only happened once in my career. And it was the saddest thing, but it was like it happened. But we were such good friends. She was a great sport about it. She didn't pay for hair for a while. So I took care of her.
The mansion itself is just filled with scandal, if you think about it. With these scandals, you weren't around, I'm sure. I wasn't. We get the Peter Bogdanovich with Dorothy Stratton, who's murdered by Paul Schneider, all part of the mansion story. Gentleman that used to be at the mansion all the time, Robert Blake, used to be there, got kicked out of the mansion forever. Then you have the Bill Cosby scandal. So I think the mansion, it's like sex, drugs, rock and roll, party, beautiful people.
Well,
always leads to scandal.
There was the Dr. Saginaw scandal too. He went off the rails, and Hef banned him from the club for a while.
What was that scandal?
He got into substance abuse.
Okay.
And he was using his relationship with Hef to manipulate relationships with women, and it was bad. And so a couple of girls went to the media and ratted him out, and then everything else went down. And it was sad because I wouldn't have gotten the gig if it wasn't for him, Yeah. So, but everybody was just kind of hands off. He's got to get his shit together, and he did. And then at the end, he brought him back, which I loved that. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because they were best friends. And Jennifer Saginaw's daughter wrote a book and talked about him and Hef's relationship, and I agree with what Jennifer said about their friendship. I think it was more than just friendship.
Interesting. You talked about studying. Were you going to go into the ministry? I mean, theology
my father was
background?
Jewish. My mother was Christian. I had questions.
Okay.
And I met some people that had gone through this non-denominational theological school, and I wanted to learn how to study. I wanted to learn how to think. I want to learn how to set goals and accomplish them. I want to learn all the things that the school offered was fantastic, and I could use it in any field of endeavor I decided to go in. I was supposed to be an architect, but I said no to it. Both my parents were educators, and so when I ended up not going to college right out of high school, flipped them out, but I went to Washington, D.C. in 2.5 months, made $5,000, then I moved to Seattle and spent time there, and that's where I met a hairstylist and his wife that had moved up from New York. That planted the seed, because I was like, oh my God, you moved across the country, and your career is literally in your hands, and you're well in this hair salon, you're making bank in a week. That planted the seed. And then when I was in theological school, I met this woman. I was 23, she was 33. She was a hairstylist. We fell madly in love. She educated me as to what more was involved. So when I graduated, I moved out to the Bay Area, jumped into cosmetology school, which was really bizarre because, it's every kind of high school dropout, very colorful person is in cosmetology school. But a woman came in and did a demonstration and changed this girl from being just an average looking girl into it just so hot. And I said, I want to learn how to do that. That's
Boom.
how I'm going to do it.
Cato, so obviously Kevin is 1 degree of scandalous with his background as a celebrity hairdresser. You were also 1 degree of disastrous. Mm-hmm. You've got to tell us that story when you were on the scene of the 1989 earthquake.
Yes.
In San Francisco. Not just seeing it, but you got out of your car, you're helping, you're rolling up your sleeves.
Yeah.
What was that?
Was that the earthquake, by the way, where Al Michaels?
Yes, that was during the World Series in
That is the
1989, October.
Yeah,
October.
so-
And I was living in Northern California as well. I remember the whole thing.
I tell you, man, it was crazy because my client was being shampooed. I'm talking to my girlfriend. She's flipping out because she's like, the pots and pans are falling off and the water's jumping out of the pool. I'm like, what are you talking about? Then all of a sudden it hit. I'm like, babe, it's an earthquake. Get out of the house. And I rolled out of the house. So I get out, get my car. I had to drive all the way around to get back to Oakland where I lived. But there was this double-decker freeway called the Cypress structure that collapsed, and people were trapped in there. It was just a mess. And I went down there to help, and it was raining. It started raining a little bit, and Dan Rather shows up in a limo, and it's just death and mayhem everywhere. And he gets out of his car, and he starts screaming at his assistant, "I'm getting dust on my suit," and he starts cussing at her. I'm like, what? Are you not aware of what's going on around you, bro? Seriously,
he's more worried about his appearance as he rolls up to this epic disaster where people are dying,
yeah.
like they're still trapping
this legendary
cars, right?
news dude
Yeah.
who's like on the spot, and this is his reaction. I was blown away. I saw it with my own eyes. It's like just
Wow,
blown away.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Was
taught
that
me a lot.
was that on camera? Was
No,
he,
it was not.
No,
on
no,
camera.
no, it wasn't on
No,
camera.
it was
He
right when
was-
he got out of the car.
It was right when he got out of the limo.
So it was nothing. The earthquake. He just happened to be there.
No, he
No,
was
the
there
earthquake
covering
had
it.
happened,
Covering
and
it.
he
Okay,
goes
so
there.
but-
He
so
goes
at
there
one
to cover
point
it.
he-
Yeah,
at one
this
point-
is like a day later.
Yeah, he must have
Okay.
flown out there
I went down
immediately.
there because I lived 5 minutes from the place. I was just down there trying to help.
Yeah.
It was death and mayhem.
Oh God, it had
You'll
to be-
never forget it. It's like those images are burned in my brain.
Yeah,
It's
because people trapped in cars,
Yeah.
and what I bet doctors were just running down to the scene to do what they could
The
too.
thing that pissed me off is because I know a little bit about design, and I looked at the structure, and there was this overlap between the plates of concrete, the road, that were only like 1.5 inches, and it wouldn't have taken any engineering genius at all to make 1.5 foot overlap, so when things start moving, they don't fall. And there was a big lawsuit, and there was a big problem.
It's not like there hasn't been earthquakes in Northern California before, so
It just
unbelievable.
blew my mind, just the logic of how they designed this Cypress structure was horrible.
I was in college, and I was in Stockton, California, at the University of Pacific, which is probably 75 miles probably from San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
and we certainly felt it because we were at football practice, and I could see the tower where they were filming sway,
Yeah.
and then the water polo players that were practicing kind of got tossed around
Yeah.
in the pool. I mean, literally almost tossed out. And then we went in the locker room. We were seeing all the destruction. It was unbelievable.
The
And
epicenter was in Santa Cruz. That's why you felt it so hard.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
And think about it. That was right when the World Series between two Bay Area teams
Yeah.
was just about ready to start.
I loved it. I was living in Oakland. I would take Bart down to Oakland Coliseum and watch the athletics all the time. The Bash Brothers and the whole the team was amazing.
That
And,
stadium
and
still
they ended
sucks.
up sweeping the Giants, which I loved. I love it because I don't like the Giants. I'm a Dodger fan, so they're the enemy. But yeah, it was great watching them get just get.
I
the
forgot
butts
that was the
kicked.
teams. Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
Springs,
Two Bay Area
I mean,
teams.
The Niners were winning all the Super Bowls, and the whole sports world was focused on the Bay Area. It was so fun to live there.
Sure.
Really.
But then
glad.
did you figure, okay, what brought you to L.A.?
Well, if I knew if I was going to make it this business, it was either Beverly Hills or Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I'm a golfer, so I'm like, and I'd already had some experience working on the set of Santa Barbara. One of my clients and friends was ex-boyfriend was Carlos Jaggar. He ran hair and makeup for NBC, and so I got on the set of Santa Barbara doing hair there. And then when we would finish, if we finished early, they would send us over to the Tonight Show, and that's how I got to learn how to deal with celebrity. And
who was hosting at that time?
Johnny Carson.
Okay, so did you do Johnny's hair?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you did Johnny's hair too?
Yeah.
That's
great.
Sweet. Well, I did not know you did.
Yeah.
I had to,
well, he did. Wow. He didn't have a whole lot needed to be done. Just touched him up. He just came in. Whoever's available, just do it.
Wild, wacky stuff.
Yeah,
you must
wild,
have a good...
wacky.
what a genius. God, we miss him. Don't we miss him?
Oh my God, he just felt like a different, more fun
well,
time.
That's when a talk show host is a talk show host.
How about Rob Lowe? How'd that happen?
Oh, Rob Lowe was great, man. I was working on Blowout, and his wife, who's awesome, she became a client of mine, and she got me Rob.
Too.
And then Rob, I did Rob's hair for quite a while. I changed his haircut. I gave him the more choppy look. He never had that before. I gave him that look, and God, the stories he would tell me about the Playboy Mansion. I can't get into it, but he just, he's such a great looking dude. He walked up there and just had girls falling all over him. I mean, obviously, but he got a West Wing. And so when he got West Wing, they were doing his hair, and I lost my gig. But Rob was so fun. I used to go up Santa Barbara, and I would do his wife's hair, and she hooked me up with all the society, high society ladies up there, and we would hang out in this massive cavernous bathroom that she had. I would just bang out all these clients. It was so fun.
You used to bang the clients? Is that what you said?
The hair.
Oh, I thought you said I heard
only the hair.
I go, wait a minute now.
That's a term we use in the hairdresser.
Oh, that's a term.
Banging out clients.
Just in case a client
Tom and I use that
misunderstood,
term
right.
too.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'm going to ask you, if you can be honest, who of you met all the girls next door? There's a few seasons of those. Mm-hmm. Who's a bitch?
God, I would say maybe Holly. I guess. I mean, she seems to be the one that's the most pissed off.
Is that did you do about Holly's hair?
No, I never did her hair. No.
Okay.
But just seeing her around, seeing interviews and all that kind of stuff.
But you knew her obviously because you're there.
I knew her a little bit, but I was Hef's guy. I didn't fraternize too much with the chicks. I just,
Holly,
girls were as girls. They were upstairs doing whatever, and they had their own hair people.
There was an engagement, right? I mean, they were Holly and her. Mm-hmm. Then, because I remember I was doing Vegas. I was doing Tony and Tina's wedding, and then she had a show. I was invited to go at that time, and that's when they were on their outs.
Yes.
As Hef said, "Do not do this show." I think.
So that's what I'm trying to tell you. I mean, she was never a bitch to me. None of them were a bitch to me. It's just she just seemed to be the most pissed off about everything. Because I think maybe she was thinking that she was going to get the keys to the mansion at the end of it all, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think when Hef didn't like the women going out and doing other things.
No,
I really think he had a lock and key, and I think that's just he should never have done that.
He was very oddly controlling.
But,
these girls had rules; they couldn't.
Well, that certainly has come out in various reports.
Well, no, I can verify that for sure. It was just the rules. He had rules. Yeah.
And do you think the rules are an insecurity?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah,
absolutely, and not without reason. Because girls are girls and guys are guys, and they're going to try to take your lunch if you give them half a chance.
Right. If you're living at some place, first rent free for 3 months, at some point you're going to go, I'm bored. I got to do something, and I think a lot of them just want out.
Yes. I think you go in with this idea that you're going to get fortune and fame, and you realize how much work it's going to be and what's going to be required of you.
Yeah, and not quite as glamorous
as
it
that
seemed.
menu comes down the line, you're like, "Ooh, I don't know if I want to eat that."
Well, not only that, but I'm sure they had to ask permission to do anything, right? Even to leave the house.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they had to be back at a certain time.
It's not like they're going to drive somewhere, right?
No, it was all that. All that was definitely the rules and the regulations.
Yeah.
It was very, very well known. All the staff knew it. Everybody knew it.
Yeah, and the mansion used to be, when Playboy was at its heyday, when the Playmate of the Year would get, back in those days, $100,000 plus a $100,000 car. And then you saw it decline. They no longer cash. It was a 72 Corolla. But it was like, listen, what'd you get? Well, I got 2 Uber rides
and a gift certificate to Chipotle.
But you actually saw a decline. It was sad.
Yeah,
you saw a decline, and the internet's like, okay, why porn is free.
And then it's almost like you're witnessing the end of an era, right? Yeah. It's just happening in real time, right?
And
everybody
knew it. Like a slow train wreck.
Yeah, and you had the people that worked there at the mansion and that you knew that their days were up. And
one of my favorite guys was the guy Mark. Remember the bald-headed guy with the big mustache?
Yeah, everybody
Mark, was
just
fantastic.
So just great people. Still to this day, I've got friends from from the staff to.
Well, you probably had to feel you were part of a special club, like a unique club that not everybody. You spoke your own language.
Yes.
Had that
And
entrance
you
to
probably
the best
attest to this.
parties.
How many of your friends and just people just constantly hammering you? Can you get me to the parties? Can you get me to the parties? It's constant. It was just constant.
It was everybody.
Yeah.
They wanted. Everybody had a bucket list. Was go to the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
Tom's bucket list was to buy a bucket. But I said, Tom,
Kato helped me with that. He drove me to Home Depot.
I was
able
like,
to do it.
Tom,
It was great.
go a little higher with your bucket list, please.
Kato's going, I can get you to the Playboy Mansion anytime now.
Yeah.
No problem. I'll drop you off
When
at the
I
gate.
first
There we
was
go.
able
Here's
to
your
go
bucket.
in, I was able to invite a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
But
Plus
that got
one.
the kibosh real quick. But girls, I could invite as many, girls.
Yeah,
as
you
I
can start
wanted.
selling that.
And the thing is,
Highest bidder can come with me.
They had to have photos, half had to approve
That's
the photo
exactly
right.
to get someone in
Yes.
to a party.
How did that guy have so much time to
Even
deal with so
the
many
women that I
details?
would invite, I would have to provide a photo.
Wow.
Yes.
To see if they were mansion worthy.
Me
Yeah,
too.
isn't that funny?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's.
Oh my God.
All right,
It's true, though.
let's talk about tips. What's the biggest tip you ever got? Anything scandalous?
I don't know. Is $5,000 scandalous?
Oh my God,
Wow, that's nice.
that's not bad.
Yeah, I've
Must have
done
been one hell
weddings.
of a
I've done
kind.
weddings all over the world, man, and the tips for those are fantastic. And my favorite wedding that I did that most people know about is the first season of the Real Housewives of Orange County, Lori's wedding.
Okay.
So I'd already done Blowout, and Lori's had a girlfriend that was kind of a girlfriend of mine. We had some fun, and so she made the introduction.
Is that the same production company? Is that why Blowout in the
No,
Real
it was
House?
literally because Lori's friend was kind of an ex-fling of mine.
Yeah.
And so she made the introduction. And so I went down there and did her hair for the brides, what do you call it? What's the first party they do before the
Bridesmaid.
wedding? Yeah, the bridesmaids party. And so went down and did that, and she loved what I did.
The bachelorette party.
Yeah, yeah. So she wanted me to
Right,
do her
with
hair for the wedding.
bridesmaids.
Yeah, with the bridesmaid. So then I got the gig for doing the whole wedding, which was all on Bravo. It was a huge 15 minutes of the show was me doing their hair and makeup and everything. And so Bravo said to me, okay, we have a choice. We can either give you a credit or Lori can just pay you to do the hair. I'm like, I'll just have Lori pay me to do the hair. I have enough credits on Bravo already. I don't need any more.
Right.
And so Lori did, and they were so generous and wonderful and took care of my crew. And the wedding was killer. The hair was amazing. The makeup was beautiful. It just turned out great. And what a fun time that was. And then, while they're all getting married, we're in the kitchen drinking champagne and getting trashed. And it was just so fun. Yeah. It's great times.
So, are you completely retired? You doing a little bit on your side?
No, I still do some hair. People come to my house. I go to people's houses. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I do what I want when I want. I'm very,
nice
very
part, right?
thankful.
Play a little golf.
I'm so glad I have no desire to stand behind the chair 12
God,
hours
could
a day
you
and do that.
imagine though if you had a shop, a salon right now on Rodeo or wherever in Beverly Hills? People
It's-
don't even want to go out of their
it's
house
so,
anymore.
It's so tough to just run a business in California. California makes it so difficult to open a business and to maintain a business. They just nickel and dime you to death, and it's really, really tough. And I'm just not going to work in a hair salon with a mask on. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.
I just won't. It's so dumb. It's not necessary.
Is that still going on?
I don't know if it's still mandatory. I get these letters from the state board, and so far I haven't gotten a letter saying that it's not necessary. I drive by salons and I see most stylists are wearing masks. Some aren't. I don't know if they're just being defiant. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Huh.
Not my thing.
No, and I would think also in Beverly Hills, your salon and many salons, what you cater, you try to serve drinks. You do. I don't know if there's a law for that. If you can.
Oh, I served everything to my clients, but
and
just
I
didn't
imagine-
charge them.
But is that's no? I mean, it's you can serve alcohol.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All my clients were champagne, beer, sodas.
Sure, you
queso,
got to make it an
liquor.
experience, right?
No,
Absolutely.
it
But
is
I did that.
you're
I
right.
did that. I started that when I was at Giuseppe Franco. I had my own refrigerator, and I had my own, stuff in there. And there's a guy named Christian who owns Wally's. He hooked me up with these amazing little splits of champagne. I don't keep those chilled in my thing. So
Nice. So you could open up a little one.
Yeah.
It's
right?
amazing how much more clients love their hair when they're trashed.
Yeah, that's and
How much bigger those tips become,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
An extra zero ended up on
right.
that receipt. Yeah.
Or Kevin at Giuseppe Franco. When you're working at Giuseppe Franco, I did a show on Cannon off of the street of Giuseppe Franco. I would just go out in the street with a microphone and be a man on the street. One of the best times of my life. I would see literally every day. It was right across the street was Mulberry Pizza, Giuseppe Franco. there's a cigar bar. You would see Schwarzenegger.
Nazareth.
You would see Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
You could just walk out in Cafe Roma, and it was like, wow.
Yeah,
And you have
Schwarzenegger, Stallone.
like Charlie would be at
what's his name?
Robert Davi was always there.
Robert Davi was always there. Mickey Rourke.
Oh yeah, Mick. I would see him.
He was always there.
Yeah, I was Cafe Roma.
Boom Boom Mancini, the boxer.
Think about it. There's doctors' offices there. They have to go.
Serious mafiosos go rolling through there.
Oh yeah, you just on that street. You just walk that street. It's like, it's so much history. And Stallone, I think, was getting his haircut by Giuseppe.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that was an awesome time, man. And then those guys went and they opened up GHR.
There had to be a lot of internal competition, right? So you can get the biggest names, the biggest stars, make the most money.
Yeah.
I mean, were you guys like that when you were working at Giuseppe's?
Like I said, I was very focused on my business, but I was very fortunate. Next door to Giuseppe's was an amazing makeup artist named Valerie, and she was really big in the biz. And her salon was right next door to Giuseppe's, so she could see the hair I was doing all day long. And she had her own hairstylist, but she saw the blondes I was doing, and she wanted me to fix her blonde, so I did. And then she did something very cool to me. One day I'm working, and this client comes in, and I said, "Hey, how'd you hear about me?" She goes, "Oh, I met this girl on the street, blah, blah." I'm like, that's a very normal thing to do. So I get done with her hair, and I said, "So do you remember the girl that recommended me?" She goes, "Well, actually, I have to be honest with you. I'm a spy from Allure magazine, and I was sent in here to spy on you, and we're going to do a big article on you." And that was all because Valerie contacted Allure magazine. They go, "You need to see this guy." And they did. They sent a spy in, and this massive article in Allure magazine, and my career just took off after that.
Boy, you can't be. Isn't that rule number one for a spy? You don't tell them while you're there.
This is, you have to remember, kids, there was no interweb at this point. So the goal for me was to come to Beverly Hills, get my name associated with celebrity, and then get that in media and print, and then that was the ticket.
Well, boom, and if it falls on your lap when they send a spy from Allure magazine, and you get that editorial.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Cha-ching.
So then that was when I hired my own assistant after that. Which nobody else in the shop had their own assistant. I mean, there was assistants that worked in the shop, did shampoos and stuff like that, but I needed my own person. And then I literally just doubled my income.
Would you charge for a haircut for a man?
Oh, back then I was charging, I think it was the 90s, I was charging $65.
65?
That was a lot back then. Now I'm $250.
Did you have different rates for celebrities?
No. Everybody pays the same. I don't do that. I don't gouge people. Never. Now it's a different price to do a house call as opposed to somebody coming to my my shop.
Right.
Of course, because I got to get my car. I got to go, and all that time. It's just time is money. So. Yeah.
Well, Tom and I brought some scissors. You have time.
Hey, since we have
hey,
you
we're
here.
not going to pay you, but
exactly.
listen, and maybe you can work on my
I
jeans.
do charity work from time to time.
I was God. What was this thing? We were talking about Stallone of famous people you cut hair of. I would think that the most famous person you said was Charlie.
No, I would say the most famous person I did, other than Hef, was Anthony Hopkins. He was a client of mine for quite a long time. He's just he's not your typical Hollywood guy.
Oh no,
he hates Hollywood actually, and he's told me some amazing stories. But I was in Maui and I walked into this art gallery and I hear this voice and I go in this room and there's this video playing and it's him. He's a painter. You know he's a painter?
Yeah.
I didn't know he's a painter. So next time he comes to my shop, I have a private room. He comes up. He always come at 8 o'clock in the morning. So at 9 o'clock when we're done, he's rolling out and people are starting to roll in. I'm like, oh my God, it's Tony. And it was just so cool. He was so friendly to everybody, and he was just the most amazing guy. And I said, Tony, I go, you didn't tell me you were a painter. You got to hook me up with a painting. And he did. He hooked me up with this awesome painting. And it's this painting where he closes his eyes and he draws a face, and then he colors in the eyeballs. It's so crazy looking. It's really cool. But anyway, he's this
I could be a painter.
Awesome I met him, much like I met Rob Lowe through his wife. I was doing his wife's hair, and then I kept seeing Anthony in in the media and what have you. His haircut was just horrible.
Oh, really?
You gotta get me in. Let me fix it. Come on.
Wow.
And the first time I did it, he loved it, and he was just awesome. So every time he's doing the Golden Globes, when he won the Cecil B. DeMille Award or whatever, he was always going to all the award shows. They would bring me in, and I'd go to the Peninsula or the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I would go in and take care of everybody, and then they go to the shows.
I remember the acceptance speech for the Oscar. I want to thank my hairdresser, Kevin Josephson. I couldn't have done without him. Hey, you asked him to do you a line from Silence of the Lambs, though, right?
No, he did it. In the thank you, because I want to thank Kevin.
You can't help but be around him, and that's what you think.
Oh my God!
You know what I mean?
Great to see you.
Yeah,
Great
man.
to see
thanks for swinging by. Really appreciate it.
A lot of fun to hang
this
with you
is
guys.
great.
Yeah, good life, good living.
Yes.
Congrats on a fantastic career.
Yes, it's been
Keep those
wonderful.
secrets to the grave.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Or else come back here and
quite a
tell us.
few.
And maybe
Yeah.
Kevin will be the new Hef here, throwing the parties.
Right.
Well,
when
I
people
got to get a mansion first.
yeah,
Go hit the golf course. I know you're an avid golfer.
Yes,
got
I
a
am.
tee time
I
today?
travel the world to play golf. I love it.
And
It's
many
my
people
thing.
would say to me, Hef's in a better place now. I go, no, he's not.
No,
he had the mansion.
No, man, I tell you, but like you said, it did decline toward the end, and it was kind of sad to watch. It was really kind of sad to watch, but it was still fun.
Even the food declined.
Part of Hollywood history. You guys saw it. You lived it.
Yes, it was.
Thanks
All
for
right.
being Kevin Josephson on 1 Degree of Scandalous. Thanks for being here.
Oh,
Loved
my
it.
pleasure.
Yep.
Tom Zenner,
Great
always
good
to be here.
always good to have you here.
Yeah, Cato, have a good week on your travels. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you download, subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel
You
as well.
want to make sure you get YouTube because you can see Kevin here. First guest ever in studio.
Yep.
Yes.
Congrats.
Pop the cherry,
Big
baby.
deal. You look good, man. All right. We'll catch you guys next Wednesday. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in.
See ya.
Cheers.